The autumn mist clung to the forest path as Damien made his way toward the village of Silverwood. He'd heard rumors of the place, a settlement where magic still lingered in the air, where the boundary between human and otherworldly had never quite solidified. As a traveling merchant, he'd seen strange things, but nothing had prepared him for what awaited him. The village elder, a weathered woman named Mira, stopped him at the gate. Her eyes held a mixture of desperation and hope. "You're human," she said, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. "Completely human, yes?" Damien nodded, confused. "I am. Is that a problem?" "No," Mira breathed, gripping his arm. "It might be a blessing. Please come with me. There's someone who needs to meet you." She led him through winding streets to a cottage at the village's edge. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and something sweeter, like cherry blossoms in spring. On a bed surrounded by flickering candles lay the most beautiful woman Damien had ever seen. Her hair was the color of autumn fire, cascading over silk pillows. But what made his breath catch were the fox ears that twitched slightly atop her head and the russet tail that lay limply beside her. Her skin, pale as moonlight, seemed almost translucent. "This is Seraphina," Mira whispered. "She's dying." The fox girl's eyes fluttered open, golden luminous, and filled with a sadness that pierced Damien's heart. "Another visitor to watch me fade?" Seraphina's voice was weak but melodious. "How thoughtful." Damien approached slowly. "What's happening to her?" Mira explained the ancient curse of the fox people. They lived between worlds, sustained by magic and emotion. But Seraphina had been born with a particularly fragile constitution. Her life force was tied to an unfulfilled desire, and unless that desire was met by a willing human, she would disappear like morning dew. "What does she desire?" Damien asked, unable to look away from those golden eyes. Seraphina turned her face away. "It doesn't matter. No human would grant it anyway. It's too much to ask." But Mira retrieved a scroll from the bedside table. "She's written it down. An old contract in the traditional way of her people." Damien unrolled the parchment. The handwriting was elegant, each letter formed with care. As he read the words, his heart clenched. "I, Seraphina of the Fox clan, wish only this, to be bound to someone as a wife, even for a single day. To know what it means to belong to another, to be chosen, to be loved. This is my final wish before I return to the forest's embrace." He looked up at the dying girl, whose eyes now watched him with fragile hope. "You want to be married?" he asked softly. "I want to be wanted," she whispered. "Just once." Damien spent the night in the village inn, unable to sleep. The image of Seraphina's face haunted him, that mixture of longing and resignation, as if she'd already accepted her fate, but couldn't quite let go of hope. By dawn, he'd made his decision. When he returned to the cottage, Seraphina seemed weaker. Her ears barely twitched at his entrance, and her tail had lost its sheen. Mira sat beside her, holding her hand, tears streaming down her weathered face. "She has perhaps a day left," Mira said. "Maybe less. Then we don't have time to waste." Damien pulled the contract from his coat. "What do I need to do?" Seraphina's eyes widened. You would really? Tell me what this entails," Damien said, kneeling beside the bed. "The truth of it." Mira explained that the contract was more than mere words on paper. It was a binding of souls, temporary but profound, for the duration specified, in this case, 1 day and night. Seraphina and Damien would be linked. They would feel each other's emotions, sense each other's presence. It was as close to a true marriage bond as magic could create. "And after?" Damien asked. "After, she'll either have the strength to live on or—" Mira couldn't finish. Seraphina reached out with a trembling hand. "You don't have to do this. You don't know me. This is madness." Damien took her hand, surprised by how cold it felt. "Maybe. But I've lived my whole life safely, predictably. Maybe it's time I did something that matters, even if I don't fully understand it. He signed his name at the bottom of the contract with the special ink Mira provided. Ink mixed with crushed moonflowers and spring water. As the letters dried, they began to glow with a soft silver light. Serafina added her own signature with a shaking hand. The moment she finished, the entire parchment blazed with brilliance. The light lifted from the page, swirling around both of them like ribbons of pure starlight. Damien gasped as warmth flooded through him. He could feel Serafina, not just physically, but emotionally. Her fear, her joy, her overwhelming relief washed over him like waves. And beneath it all, something deeper. A loneliness so profound it brought tears to his eyes. When the light faded, Serafina's appearance had transformed. Color returned to her cheeks. Her ears stood upright, alert and alive. Her tail swished with renewed energy. She sat up in bed, staring at Damien with wonder. "I can feel you," she whispered. "You're really here. You're really mine." "For a day," Damien said, smiling despite the complexity of emotions swirling in his chest. "Then let's not waste a moment," Serafina replied, her voice stronger now. She reached for him, and he moved closer, both of them trembling at the threshold of something neither fully understood. Serafina insisted on leaving the cottage despite Myra's protests. "I've been in that bed for months," she said, her golden eyes bright with determination. "If I have only one day as someone's wife, I won't spend it dying." Damien offered his arm, and she took it, leaning against him as they walked into the village. He could feel her joy through their bond. Pure, unfiltered happiness at such simple things. The sun on her face, the breeze playing with her hair, the strength returning to her limbs with each step. The villagers watched with tears and smiles as the newlywed couple strolled through Silverwood. Children ran up to Serafina, hugging her legs, overjoyed to see her well. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes, and ruffled their hair with renewed affection. "They love you," Damien observed. "I'm all that's left of my clan," Serafina explained quietly. "My mother was the last full-blooded foxwoman. She fell in love with a human merchant, someone like you, and I was born. But mixed blood comes with a price. We're weaker, more vulnerable." She led him to the edge of the forest where wildflowers grew in abundance. They sat in the grass, and Serafina wove flower crowns with practiced fingers. When she placed one on Damien's head, their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to shimmer. "What are you feeling right now?" she asked softly. Through their bond, Damien knew she could sense his emotions just as he sensed hers, but he answered anyway. "Confused, happy, terrified. I didn't expect this to feel so real." "It is real," Serafina said, moving closer. "For today, it's completely real." She kissed him then, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Damien responded, wrapping his arms around her slender form. He could feel her heartbeat synchronizing with his, their bond deepening with every shared breath. When they pulled apart, Serafina's cheeks were flushed. "I want to show you something," she said. "A place special to my people." She led him deeper into the forest to a hidden glade where a crystalline pool reflected the afternoon sky. Ancient stone markers circled the water, carved with symbols Damien couldn't read. "This is where fox people come to bond with their chosen mates," Serafina explained, her voice hushed with reverence. "The water remembers every vow spoken here." She began unlacing her dress, her eyes never leaving his. "I know our time is limited, but I want to truly be yours, even if just for these hours. Will you accept me completely?" Damien's heart raced. He could feel her nervousness mixing with determination through their bond, could sense how much this moment meant to her. "Yes," he whispered, removing his own clothes. "I accept you, Serafina, my wife." They entered the sacred pool together, and as the enchanted water surrounded them, their souls intertwined even more deeply than the magic contract had allowed. The water glowed softly as they came together, responding to the ancient magic of the bonding ritual. Damien held Seraphina close, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. Her skin was warm now, alive with energy that had been absent just hours before. "The water will remember us," Seraphina murmured against his neck. "Even after our day ends, this place will hold our bond." Damien cupped her face, tilting it up to meet his gaze. "Then let's give it something worth remembering." Their kiss was deeper this time, filled with urgency and tenderness. Seraphina's tail wrapped around his waist, pulling him impossibly closer. Through their bond, Damien experienced everything she felt. The joy, the desire, the bittersweet knowledge that this was both beginning and ending. He lifted her easily in the buoyant water, and she wrapped her legs around him. Their movements were slow, reverent, as if they were indeed performing an ancient rite. The water rippled around them with each motion, creating patterns of light that danced across their intertwined bodies. Seraphina gasped, her fingers digging into his shoulders. "I can feel everything you feel," she whispered in wonder. "It's like we're one person." "We are," Damien replied, kissing her neck, her collarbone, the sensitive place behind her fox ears that made her shiver. "For this moment, we're completely one." The intensity built between them like a rising tide. Seraphina cried out, and Damien felt her pleasure as his own, amplified by their bond into something transcendent. When they finally reached the peak together, the pool exploded with light, and the ancient stones hummed with approval. They stayed entwined for a long moment, breathing hard, hearts pounding in unison. Seraphina's eyes were wet with tears. "I never thought I could feel this complete," she said. Thank you for choosing me." Damien kissed away her tears. "I think maybe you chose me, and I'm grateful." They eventually left the sacred pool and dressed, but the intimacy between them had forever changed. As they walked back to the village, Seraphina's hand firmly clasped in his. Damien tried not to think about the sunset rapidly approaching. That evening, Mira prepared a feast. The entire village gathered to celebrate the rare joy of Seraphina's wedding day. They danced, ate, and drank late into the night. Seraphina was radiant, her laughter filling the air, her fox ears twitching with happiness as she twirled in Damien's arms. But as midnight approached, Damien felt a change through their bond. A fading, like a candle guttering in the wind. Seraphina felt it too. She looked up at him, her golden eyes wide. "It's almost time." "Time for what?" he asked, though he feared he knew. "Time to see if your wish was enough," she said softly. "Time to discover if I get to live, or if this perfect day was my beautiful goodbye." They returned to Seraphina's cottage as the village clock tower chimed midnight. Their contracted day as husband and wife was ending. Mira waited inside, her face grave. "The bond will break now," she said. "What happens next depends on whether the wish truly fulfilled her heart's deepest need." Seraphina suddenly cried out, doubling over. Damien caught her as the silver light of their bond began to fracture, splitting into fragments that drifted away like fireflies. He could feel their connection severing, that beautiful certainty of her emotions fading. "No," he said firmly. "This isn't right." "Damien, it's okay," Seraphina whispered, her strength already waning. "You gave me more than I ever dreamed. I felt loved. I felt chosen. That's enough." "It's not enough," Damien interrupted. He turned to Mira. "There must be another way. What if the contract wasn't temporary? What if I want to be her husband permanently?" Mira shook her head sadly. "The magic of the Fox people is ancient and unbreakable. The contract specified one day. That's all." "Then I'll make a new contract," Damien said desperately. He could barely feel Seraphina now, her presence slipping away like sand through his fingers. One without an end date. That's not how it works, Mira began. But Seraphina suddenly grabbed Damien's hand. Wait, she said, her voice strengthening slightly. He's right. The old contract is ending, but there's nothing preventing a new one. Her eyes blazed with hope. Unless, Damien, do you even want that? Truly? Being bound to me forever is not the same as one magical day. Damien knelt beside her, taking both her hands. I've lived 30 years playing it safe, Seraphina. Never taking risks. Never feeling anything this deeply. Today, with you, I felt more alive than I ever have. So yes, I want this. Not because of magic or contracts, but because somewhere in the last 24 hours, I fell in love with you. Tears streamed down Seraphina's face. I love you too. I think I started loving you the moment you signed that first contract, when you chose kindness over convenience. Mira was already retrieving fresh parchment. Then let's make this official, but understand. A permanent bond with Foxkind means you'll be partly connected to her world. You'll live longer, change in ways you can't predict. I understand, Damien said without hesitation. They wrote the new contract together, their hands intertwined. This time, when they signed, the magic that surrounded them was deeper. Not silver but gold, warm as sunlight, permanent as the stars. Seraphina's transformation was immediate and complete. Full vitality returned, her golden eyes blazing with life and love. She threw her arms around Damien, and he held her tight. Forever, she whispered. Forever, he agreed. And in that moment, in that small cottage on the edge of a mystical forest, a merchant and a fox girl proved that the most powerful magic isn't written in contracts. It's found in the courageous choice to love without reservation.